Salam, universe. Salam, universe. While I know that we have been down this particular opening pathway before, I wanted at least one American to show solidarity with the Iranian people as they grapple with the loss of their president in a helicopter crash that took several lives, not just his, in the mountainous territory of Iran. And while it certainly looks like something the weather, given how treacherous the conditions truly are they were flying through, could have been the sole cause of this incident, when you're an American and you have something called the CIA working inside your borders, and that's just one of several three-letter acronym agencies that just, well, they do whatever the fuck they feel like. So if they felt like killing the president of Iraq, could they have made it look like a helicopter crash in wintry conditions in the mountainous regions above? Yes, I believe they could have. So, since I know one of the things I grapple with, and I grapple with it more than most, if I had to guess, is the overall bubble of energy morality that humanity currently serves to the universe. Well, this kind of disruption is going to lead to static in that signal no matter what. These are losses that force individuals to reconcile their position in their representation at a larger scale. In other words, their humanity is forced to a moment of true reckoning about leadership, about their role in expectations therein, about the potential the foul play possibilities of intervention of unwanted kinds, all this kind of shit that now must at least be considered. Well, I apologize for America's role in making you consider it. That we have been so cavalier with our feelings about what the world owes us, that we have started to expect the shape of the world to conform to our expectations or to suffer the consequences. And I'm obviously not limiting this to a single incident on which there is no direct connection yet to be made. I am expanding this to the entirety of the world's landscape that sits in the unknown, untrusted, uncertain future that we all see wherever we look forward. Because we know at any given point, those who see a future that only they can envision and make one work toward us, all achieving that vision in whatever twisted way is necessary for them to, quote unquote, create that future. Well, I don't know what kind of karmic reset those people have to deal with. We all have to be here as pawns in their game of suffering. But I believe in the deepest core of my being that if we aren't willing to stand up for the better of us, if there aren't those of us who say, yeah, okay, everything that's going on right now is so twisted and fucked up that I don't even know where to put my spoon in to stir the pot in a productive fashion. So instead, I'm just going to ignore the whole fucking thing, go to work, pay my bill, my cable bill, my Netflix bill, my heating bill, my utility bill for electricity, my utility bill for water, my utility bill for sewage, my utility bill for trash, my utility bill for parking, my utility bill for a utility fee. What the fuck is that for? But fuck it, I'm going to do all that anyway. And I don't even turn the news on anymore. Fuck no. I watch, if you're lucky, you might catch me on the WB, but for the most part, I'm just straight up watching Comedy Central. Because I need a laugh, My life's fucking stressful. Comedy Central's not even that funny anymore. Why'd they bring that old dude back? He's fucking stupid. It's like he just goes to the Democratic Party to get his jokes. Yeah, that guy's name is Jon Stewart, and he wasn't stupid at one point. In fact, he was probably the last true social critical commentary artist that was tolerated by the power structure. Because after him, the void that he left, well, obviously he can't fill it, but nobody can. Nobody can. We're at a different time. This is the time of the unfunny. Well, not all unfunny. There's some fucking funny shit, but it's not like Seinfeld's funny anymore. It's not like Jon Stewart's funny anymore because their time was one of less exposure. We didn't understand quite the limits, well, or the lack therein. We hadn't been exposed to the wanton chase of a goal that doesn't even make sense to be realized. How much of that our government sits on, and how much of that is truly what's hamstringing our situation. As an American, I'm sure the last 6 minutes and 20 seconds have had some resonance, but as a person around the world, I'm sure none of what I've said probably makes any sense to you whatsoever. Because again, one of the things we've become really good at here in America is showing you a face of upstanding, freedom-loving, liberty-embracing citizenry of enlightened souls, when in fact the true levers of power, control, and influence in our government and our media, because synchronized together, and then with all of the corporate funding that comes through business, this triumvirate, I hate to leave the medical people out because, those pharmaceutical people are up to no good. So if you just throw the drug dealers on top of the politicians and that's the pot you're trying to put that spoon in and stir in some productive way, that part's tough. That part's tough. At least for an individual. So, what am I doing about it? Well, I'm building a coalition, to use some voting vernacular or some election vernacular. My coalition so far is like 6. So we are just half a dozen strong against 339 million others. I don't want to think of them as others because they're my humans. Most of them. Some of them are lizard skin suit wearing entities of another dimension, I have to assume. Because the best of humanity, those of us who pay our cable bill, our Netflix bill, our utility bill, those people, well, they're underutilized. It's like they are star cricket players who fell into a galaxy that only has soccer. So, yeah, we can watch them play soccer, but their level of disinterest comes from their interior soul. It's not that they can't do what's asked of them here. In fact, it's a little easier than it should be, because that's really all they have the motivation to do, is just be the 9-to-5er who can't believe how high their insurance bill for their fucking car got this month. How did that even happen? I didn't get in an accident. Why am I? What the fuck is going on with this country? These people, they need to find the game of cricket so they can realize that, oh yeah, wait, I do have a bigger purpose and influence than I remembered. This is the big me that, where I've been dormant this whole time? Oh my gosh, I could have been playing cricket. Or whatever. These people are everywhere. I'm talking to them. Most of you listening are one of these people. And I don't shame you or feel some sort of level of you dingbat why you play games so sillily. No, you've been fucking misled the whole time into some reality of this that is literally making you a zombie. compared to what the reality of potential you, the explosive opportunity to be a creator in this human whatever skin we're wearing, the inside us, it's phenomenal. And it wants to express that in every way possible. But when all the ways possible include, what a utility fee is a fee so you can have utilities. You got to be hooked up to the system. So there's your fee. Yeah, no. It doesn't matter that it's been there for hundreds of years. You individually had to hook into it, right? Or you don't have no utility. So you got to pay that fee. Well, it's $17.50 now, but yeah, well, it used to be $9. Well, shit's expensive these days. I don't know. Fuck you, man. So when I say zombified, I don't necessarily mean that you're looking to go eat the flesh of your other humans who haven't zombified yet. But in a way, maybe I do. If you're not wondering, is this what I signed up for? Is this the best we got? Is this as good as it can get? Is this really humanity realized at its highest level? And am I fucking encouraging any of that? What kind of answers do you come up with? I mean, yeah, I know you don't have time to think about shit like that because you got another YouTube fucking casserole dish recipe video to watch for a casserole you'll never make. Pause. Unpause. Wait a second. I'm not encouraging people not to be learning some culinary skills here, right? Fuck yeah. If YouTube gave us anything, it gave us the opportunity to learn how to fucking deal with the shit around our house and deal with the shit like cooking or any other rudimentary skill life may have just passed you over on. The idea that YouTube can teach you how to change your oil in your car is phenomenal. It's a simple, executable task for almost anybody so long as you put your car in an elevated situation that's safe so you don't get crushed. But if it wasn't America, I wouldn't feel like I had to put that other part at the end about getting crushed because most people would understand that's part of the process. But nope, here in America, if you don't say that, people will say, well, he didn't tell me I could get crushed doing my oil change, so now I got crushed, so it's his fault. That's America. Pause. Unpause. But again, that doesn't mean you should learn how to change your oil. Even on YouTube. Even if you're going to sue the motherfucker who taught you how to change your oil, but then you got yourself crushed because you're a dumbass. Because our courts should be able to say to you, hey, dumbass, your lawsuit is bullshit. So goodbye. But, see, in America, if you're smart, before you do anything that's kind of, we'll just say, unusual or irregular or maybe way outside the boundaries of anything that's ever been done before because it's fucking crazy and illegal. I mean, if you're going to do shit like that, well, then you want to pay off the people who, when shit like that gets found out, are the people who pass judgment on people who do stupid shit like that. I mean, if you're a long con, truly successful underground figure of authority, then thinking like that, well, what can't you get away with? Well, I don't know, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't learn how to cook some new version of a tuna casserole so that instead of your family revolting against the same goddamn spaghetti bowl, well, they can try this. Something new. Shut the fuck up, family. At least I'm trying to be a better version of myself, unlike anybody in this household. Speaking of which, whose laundry is sitting in the current washing machine getting all moldy? I knew it was you, Nick. It's Ella's? Ella, you've never done this. What's wrong? Oh, Ella, don't let them influence you. Pause. Whoa. Oh, I think we know him high enough. I think we know. Pause. Which, I know I sound buoyant. I mean, I am. I'm always buoyant. I'm fucking buoyant. Life, that's light. We're in life. Life's buoyant. Stop thinking anything else. But I did have a frustrating weekend where, well, okay, this part wasn't frustrating. I think I finally know why I've been unemployed for so long, because I think I actually know now where I'm supposed to work. And this all clicked on Saturday. And it clicked in such a way that I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to, in the next, let's say, 4 to 48 hours, this will either have materialized or I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm shocked. But again, I don't want to jinx it. So you'd think in a weekend where that crystallized after 6 months of, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing with myself? And then all of a sudden, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing with myself. Okay. That makes everything else make sense. So then, if in the process of that falling into place, the first 3 attempts at engagement are all false starts, you start to think, whoa, am I misreading this situation? Or is my reserve of direction toward this opportunity and realization of this goal so strong that I needed hurdles to prove to myself that my initiative deserves full engagement here? I didn't say that very well, so let me clean it up. If something comes into your life that all of a sudden you realize you have to pursue, for me, it can't be easy to get through to it. There has to be some hurdle involved, or I don't really believe it's a targetable initiative that should deserve my attention. In other words, nothing that I feel like returns the biggest rewards in life is ever something that I just fell into and it was just easy and all of a sudden this became part of my life and now it's truly meaningful. Everything meaningful, I've had to endure some level of maze navigation to the final realization of it to see its value through. So when I started experiencing dumb yet realistic obstacles, well, it just gave me more conviction that I'm right. So yeah, if you can talk yourself into that, then you can talk yourself into anything. And since I'm an American, we already know I can pretty much be talked into anything. Pause. On pause. Other than spaghetti bowl night, again, I don't want spaghetti bowl. I want something different. I don't care if it's tofu casserole. Serve it up. Okay, so I guess I did care that it's tofu casserole. What happened to spaghetti bowl night? Pause. But see, that's the beauty of YouTube. So the tuna casserole, whatever. Your tofu casserole didn't turn out well? Well, try tuna casserole. Or stop trying casseroles and make some eggplant parmesan. Pause. Pause. Yeah, I got nothing. What's a word for early that starts with on? There's your challenge. All right. So I say early because I have so much still to clean up. Maybe I should just talk about my felony right now. Then I know I've done it. And then I'll talk about compulsive lying either in this episode or one of the next 2 or 3. And I've talked about all this stuff before, which is why I'm reluctant to ever bring it up. Because I feel like one of the parts of this project that still gives me the least solid ground on which to navigate my approach to life are the stories of my life. And it's not that I can't go retell say the worst moment of my life story again. But I put enough energy into doing that well once that before I would do that, I'd have to go listen to it and make sure that I didn't miss one of the points that I made then. It's just how my fucking memory works. And even listening to it again, I'm sure I'll figure out something that could be better or that I didn't remember or a detail that's even poignant that was overlooked or whatever. So it's not like I can't improve the story that I gave, but I'll just be retelling it. And what we are here to do is to be better people. Why am I telling you everything that I ever can think of that I've ever done wrong? Because it seems like to me we get caught up with the luggage we haul around that is our own guilt and shame to diminish our expectation of what we can do next. And these influences come from all over the place, including inside your own head. Those exist. Now, I don't think they're limited to that, nor do I think those are the biggest ones to overcome. I think that's more a reaction of, holy fucking shit, where did I land? This isn't what I expected. And, oh my God, how am I going to deal with it? But because we end up with those influences from our environment, we can internalize them and think that they're actually coming from within us. So once they've embedded and become reactionary thoughts in your head, oh, that'll never work out for me. Or, oh, I don't deserve that. Or, oh, maybe for other people. However it is that you start to slide yourself out of contention of absolute best human experience possible, those gaps, to me, are what this whole project is about. How do you overcome those gaps and then leave them forever behind? In other words, how do you initialize self-love if you really do have shit that you feel guilty about? That doesn't seem like you can have an optimal life if you've already got mistakes that you wish you had done differently. And to me, that kind of thinking is just wrong. You have a memory of life so that you can make your future a better version of you. If you couldn't recall where you've been, you'd have no idea how to improve where you're going. And anything guilt or shamey associated with that is all imposed structure that is making you feel some sort of self-reduction. And so when you put that fucking tofu casserole down and the family doesn't rejoice at your culinary outreach, well, 1% of you should say, fuck you. While the other 99% of you says, yeah, I took a risk when I went from spaghetti bowl to tofu, but I thought my family was up for some risks that apparently are a little too zombified to fucking deal with. So mom's going to go in there and put some noodles and fucking ketchup together and I'll be right back. Pause. Pause. Not that I have a family or even know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? We all know I'm fucking full of shit. So don't be listening to me. And maybe if you don't listen to me, I'll get around to telling that story I keep leaving off the hook. The one about my felony. Huh? Pause. Pause. I have a little bit of a dramatic flair right now, I gotta admit. Sorry for the dramatic entry of my unpause flair, but there's very few things in life that I enjoy more than a crackling conversational exchange with other human meat other people wearing human suits. And since I've come to the realization that our soul energy that invests itself in this experience called human life is unique and not necessarily entrapped to the human form, and is persistent and is in its own self-exploring revelation level energy of the universe. It's here to experience certain negative tendencies. And I'm not saying that there are exchanges between people that can be negative, but, well, yeah, I am saying that. Yeah. In fact, I've initiated some, and I've been the victim of some, and I've just seen happenstance create a ton of others. It's part of why it's so hard, I think, to just expose yourself fully to everyone at all times, because there is a vulnerability of the human meat suit sack wearing exchanges that they don't always turn out to be perfect, that they don't always turn into win-win-win situations. And I think I'm starting to now see that if you allow yourself to turtle up like that, well, coming out of that is tough. And I'm simply proposing all these things because as I try to give you reasons to think you're underestimating yourself, or you're not as good as you could have been, or anything that allows you to feel some level of guilt or shame. I'm not saying those aren't real moments of ponderable soul energy engaging in a environment in which to make those thoughts manifest. But what you do from there is all you got. And I've been hamstrung for 6 months thinking why my motivation to get employed hasn't been more acute. And I think the reason is because at this phase of my life plan, I am only going to be able to engage in something that is going to return the human exchange that I need. For instance, I was never going to get hired to go mow grass on a golf course, even though that's probably the number one thing I would have wanted to have been able to just walk into. Now I see why. That wasn't enough. And it's because this place that I believe I will end up working is a place where the first time I was there, I thought, now here's a place I could work. Like, I don't have those thoughts. I'm never thinking something like that. That thought had to come down into my head with some level of exposed intent that makes me realize every other place I've been walking into is a place where I think, no fucking way would I want to work here. Because I finally walked into a place where I thought, here's where I could work. And this was over a year ago. So at the time I was even employed. It was never even a conscious decision that I would be looking for work and this would be on my list of candidates. Or else obviously I would have had some sort of epiphany 6 months ago. But when I had it on Saturday, I knew I was right. And conversational exchange is part of what I will be engaging again at a high level. And I think there's a reason for that. I've talked to myself for almost 500 episodes of It's All My Fault. And if I'm not going to force myself into public squares to engage people directly, if I don't have that kind of chutzpah yet, well, I need a job where the engagement is available in limited quantities as seen by me in a situation where conversation is expected. So I'm saying all this because I have come to realize things about myself that I didn't know were true, but they're the same things I knew were true about myself when I was 10. So that twisted, circuitous path back to who I am now just keeps getting reinforced over and over again in a way that the world wants better of all of us. The world and universe at large are designed to engage a momentum swing up if we're willing to believe that we're worth it. And I keep chasing that concept from a fundamental, I don't understand anything other than when the universe sends me signals that this is what's supposed to happen, following them leads to a better life. And ultimately, might even lead to me telling you that story about when I got a felony because I was so in love with gambling at the time. I mean, I'm still in love with gambling. I came here with one huge weakness. Well, two maybe, but one for sure. I love to gamble. And I always, just think I can beat statistical odds of less than 1% with my intentions and mind focused in this reality on physical matter coming out in my favor. And I even kind of proved it. Pause. Pause. I mean, I proved it like a gambler proves it till I lost everything, because I proved it. Yeah, proved that I could fucking give every nickel I could get my hands on to a casino so long as they would just tell me, yeah, we'll be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Christmas? Fuck yeah, we're here. New Year's? We're here. We're here on Halloween. Fuck, we're here. Come see us. Pause. Woo, on pause. I almost just deleted this recording. And I don't know if I'm happy or sad that that almost happened. But I think I'm happy. I mean, I'm always happy. I'm just saying, did I expose myself in some sort of way that later I will think, that was overexposure? Well, yeah, I do that every time. Pause. On pause. Okay. there are few things about me that are as compulsive as my behavior when it comes to gambling. And I can say with only one possible alternative, and that is women. But gambling isn't like women. For me, chasing women was way more about chasing myself. Meaning every possible encounter with somebody that could lead to somebody saying, I love you, was an opportunity to feel loved in a world in which I couldn't feel it toward myself, at least not with any true sense of what it meant to stand behind that. And not just put it in a dump pile of, well, if I didn't love myself, I'd kill myself. So I'm here. We good? No, we're not. That, in fact, is the lowest level of self-preservation that exists. If that is your answer to how much do you love yourself, well, then you're fucked. So the journey from that dump pile into something of meaning and fulfillment, it occurred with facing down the parts of myself that I didn't at all admire. And while some of that had to do with my compulsion around women, some of that, if not more, had to do with my compulsion for gambling. And gambling has gotten me a felony, cost me every nickel I ever made in life, has ruptured family relationships, especially because I've stolen from most of them so I could gamble. But as I look at gambling today, still wouldn't mind a game of heads up poker with you if you're up for some hold'em. Seriously. Like, gambling is the thing that I just can't, it needs to stay in the fucking bottle. Like, I can't succumb to my compulsion and even potential involvement in something that involves risking money. Because I can, at my worst, give away everything I can get my hands on. And so this realization was one that took a lifetime to finally reconcile, and still sits in that, but I mean, if you were going to give me $500 to play craps with, then that wouldn't really be me losing my money, so I could lose your money, or whatever. And so dangerous is it to me that my gambling compulsion sits ready to be scratched, barely under control underneath the surface of my skin, that it is the one no that I know I can't cross. And it's like heroin. For some reason, I never put myself in a position to try heroin. I think because I know if I get too close to a drug who's got no limit, my sense of no limit will eventually join up and down I'll go as another, well, we'll call it a suicide, but it certainly could have been a reckless drug overdose or whatever. My life path was always too strong to let heroin even make a cameo appearance. And I knew this. Just like I know my gambling compulsion is too strong to ever think it can make a cameo appearance. If it's here to play the best actor, the best actress, the director, the producer, the gaffer, whatever else could be involved. It's going to take over everything. And having been through it more than once, including some episodes that are just terrible, I lost $29,000 in less than 25 minutes playing online. And I mean, at the end of something like that, when you know you're on tilt, you're watching yourself give your money away and you can't stop yourself. Well, there's no other reaction other than this, and I do not need to ever commingle again. And so having this knowledge now and barely being able to keep it suppressed. In other words, I still think it's a goddamn good thing I don't live fucking walking distance from a casino, because that's too much possibility for me. In fact, part of the reason I don't have a car is so that I can't drive myself to a casino that's just 45 minutes away. And while that sounds extreme, it hasn't been the kind of negative influence on my overall life that I've really thought I'm ready to risk casino runs to overcome this limitation that riding a bicycle puts me in. So when I look at my limited life, I understand that there's some wreckage here that's really mine. And this isn't just limited to fucking gambling. But these lines that you draw over the course of your life aren't lines of entrapment or lines of closure. They're lines of definition that help you understand that you didn't come here just to win. You came here to overcome. And part of what you came here to overcome is whatever seductive pull something that has more potential downside than upside for you can have over you. It's not that I didn't have extreme winning sessions. I had the kind of run in the Ameristar Casino that got me banned from the craps tables for a month. I was winning too much. And it was in these zones of realization that I truly believe I started to understand how group mentality affects craps. I could read the future of what was going to happen and see it realize in real time, positive and negative. And I could do it even more acutely with another person. And all of this can just be the mind finding patterns where patterns don't exist because randomness, even in its most random, can look sequential, predictable, understandable. Hey, that was random. Seriously, what the fuck made that noise? Interesting. I mean, I see you sitting there, Bernzomatic propane torch. I even see the dab tool that usually makes that noise when it's on the magnet, but it was on the magnet. What made that noise? Interesting. However, not as interesting as when I was 22 years old. My first zone of craps, actually I think I was 23. I'm not sure the year, but I was 22, 23, 24, something like that. And I had my first corporate job, if you can call Enterprise Rent-A-Car corporate, which you can, but they're corporate like my first job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, I learned the game of Texas Hold'em while I had this job. I'd never played it before. I'd played poker, but not Texas Hold'em. I learned casino. I kind of learned in college, but I truly became an aficionado of the craps game playing while I was an Enterprise Rent-A-Car employee in my first corporate job. And the reason that I could play craps was because I could rent a car at Enterprise where I worked and drive it to the casino, win a lot of money, come home, pay off the car, and then do it again next weekend. At one point, I had over $12,000 in cash rolled up in Ben & Jerry's ice cream containers in my freezer because some guys had taught me that that was a good way. You could very easily hide money from anybody who might come rob you by hiding it in places where they would look but then think not to look. This is what I had been taught. I mean, seriously, I was hanging out with some fun people. I mean, fun. This was a fun fucking time in my life. I was just, everything was working out. I mean, not the job. Obviously, working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car sucks ass. But it's still, I was optimistic. I thought I had that golden horseshoe up my ass because my whole life I'd had a golden horseshoe up my ass. And I still had one. I would go on these random trips and I'd take $500 and come home with $2,700 and it was no problem. And I was doing it regularly. So I finally talk a friend of mine who works, well, dude who was at least entertaining to go out with. I tell him what I'm up to and how much money I'm winning. He's like, well, fuck, man, let me come. Let's. So I'm like, yeah, you should come. You should come. So we end up planning this weekend, Friday or Saturday night. I'm not sure what it was. Actually, I think it was Friday night because that would have given me 2 days to fucking deal with the fallout. I'm guessing it was Friday night. And we drive what is about a 2-hour drive to a rural casino in Washington where I'm up maybe 8 or 10 grand. And we both win big. But it is a pouring down rain night. And it was pouring down rain to get there. And by the time we get out of there, like, I think the rain has finally let up, but there is just torrent runoff everywhere. And there's this one place coming out of this casino that you have to make a right or left on what looks like a very not going anywhere outcome either way. And I had made the left wrong before, and I made the left wrong that night instead of going right. I was just that unfamiliar with the area back there, and it was confusing enough that whatever. As I make this left, I start to understand that this might not be the right path, but I go forward about, 500 feet before we drop the car, or I drop the car into a fucking washout. Basically just a runoff that's big enough that it's 2 feet up on the car and the car is stalled out. I'm like, oh, fuck. And from here forward, the things that happen are, I try to fix this whole situation myself by taking the car to a dealership I know through Enterprise Rent-A-Car, who then escalates this crash report to the point that I get fired. And then because I'd gotten the original estimate on the work, which was something around $8,000, and they were trying to charge me for $29,000 worth of repair fees on a car that brand new cost, I think, $22,000 at the time. I still have my key to the office. So I went in to get the report on the vehicle because I knew the vehicle reports lived in the home office of whatever car owned whatever office owned the car, which obviously would be this office until this whole thing was settled. Having that much interior knowledge of what was going to happen administratively, I went in to copy the file. I wanted legal proof that my estimate and their estimate were wildly different and what the points of differentiation were. I thought this was important at the time. Don't ask me why. As I let myself in, no problem. 4 minutes later, when the silent burglar alarm I didn't realize was there went off, well, I was arrested for burglary. And since I didn't want anything at all to do with being in jail, I told the prosecutor, if you'll keep me out of jail, I'll sign whatever. So they signed me up for burglary too, and a couple of other things, I think. I don't truly remember at this point because this was over 30 years ago. But that's why I have a felony. Pause.